Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab, episode number 106. Today's topic is marketing hosting services to a savvy audience.
I think 106 is also the projected temperature in Southern California tomorrow, Jason.
Or just in my office/bedroom. Yes.
I think Corona is like 109. It's warm out here.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Bridget, tell us a bit about yourself, and we'll get started here.
Hey, I am a marketing consultant. I do social media and one-off things. My bios for speaker bios are going great. I was just called human. I love that. So you can find out more about me, but that's on the secret menu at bridgetwiller.com and also at YouTube Community Guru.
Nice. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog. And I do another show here on WPwatercooler Network. It is the title of the network, WPwatercooler. We do those on Fridays, so feel free to go take a look at that. We have no topic planned. Why? Because we don't do any planned topics anymore. So if you have a topic and you want to come on and discuss that particular topic, you just sign up, and then at the pre-show you can just let us know about the what your topic is, and we can see if we want to discuss it or not. All right, we've been rude, as we're supposed to do. Josh, tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Joshua Knapp. I am one of the owners of AnHonestHost.com. A little bit of a tongue-in-cheek poke at some of the other hosting providers. We provide good, honest hosting to people so they don't necessarily have to focus on their hosting and they can focus on their business.
That's awesome. I like it when the name of the company tells you exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's kind of a fun little poke at some of the big guys out there, though, too. So
that's cool. I like it. How long have you guys been in business?
2013. So.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
5 years?
That's cool.
5 years.
That's awesome.
We've been rocking it for 5 years now, and we've definitely learned a lot over the years. Starting out, we tried doing stuff with a low price, like, oh, we're just gonna meet the price of everybody else and keep with the honest theme. And what we found was people saw the price was too low, and they're like, "What's wrong with this? There's got to be something wrong." So we ended up 2 years ago now retooling, listening to what our clients liked about us and what they wanted more of. And so we retooled, started using Lightspeed and providing faster servers for hosting, and adjusted the price accordingly so that we're not starving and our clients get really awesome service.
That's cool. I mean, the topic today is kind of interacting with a savvy audience. You have to have some people that really, that are customers of yours, or that bring you customers that they're supporting. How do you approach the savvy audience? Oh my goodness,
the savvy savers, the super techie people. Like, in other words, you're not having a general population. You're not competing with Bluehost.
No. We don't typically go up against, like, while our name is a poke and prod at some of those big guys, our bread and butter isn't really the same type of customer. Their concept is really kind of a churn. They know that they're going to lose a certain percentage of customers. We have a retention rate over 90%.
Whoa, shut up.
Yeah,
dang.
It's ridiculous. But a big piece of it is the service that we provide, and we take care of the customer. So it's a customer first aspect. And as a tech person, that's so rare now in the industry. I mean, I don't know the last time you've called in to speak with some of the big guys. I'm not naming names. I'm not going to go off and throw anybody under the bus, but I called somebody the other night on behalf of a client because I was helping them move a site. And the first words that came out of the person's mouth was, "I can't help you."
Oh, we're not allowed to say that in at my little travel agency.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was just like, what? But it was specifically an infrastructure related problem. And
weird.
Their first words when they saw what type of account she was on was, "I can't help you." And that actually kind of gave me a warm little tingle on the inside, because it was like, we're doing something right here. We're doing something right here. Because we will help. I mean, if it's within reason that we can go off and help somebody, we will do it. Now that doesn't mean we're going to go off and do a full site redesign with all the SEO, marketing, and all this stuff. But
As you should not be doing.
right, that's not our core competency, and that's one of the things that when we start talking marketing, is going off and saying, okay, this is the stuff that we're good at. We want to work with other people who can work well with the tool sets that we give them. Like, we actually provide a GitLab instance that our clients can use. That's included with their platform. So even from the 1249 shared plan all the way up to our public cloud and private cloud customers, they get a Git instance that they can sign up for, and that's backed up in our own backup system, and they don't have to worry about it being out on GitHub where somebody else can, mess with it if it's on a public channel. So we offer more tools. We offer that better level of service, and in return for those people who are reselling or providing affiliate services, they're able to provide a higher level of service to their clients. And it's always doing that higher tier, just everything above board. And you get a call in. I know when we first started this, I knew every single client that we had.
Yeah.
And like that. Okay. So that's my question. Like, I get that you guys are high touch. Jason and I've known you personally, like, and been in the same physical space, breathing oxygen with you. We're not just like blah, blah, blah. This isn't some infomercial, but like, that's the thing. It's like day one to year two. What is your client acquisition strategy? What was that? Was it like, hey, let's do some beta testing situation? Like, I know you, I think that you would like this. How did you get that first group of clients?
Actually, the WordPress meetup. Interestingly enough, I started going to meetups and talking to people, and that's actually where we learned a lot, was going to these meetups and hearing what people had issues with. Was when they called into support, that was the one thing everybody hated, was like, oh my gosh, I have to call into support, or I have to email into support, and I don't get my question answered. And so no matter who you get on our team, and that's the other cool thing, is it's a team now. It's not just one person, but no matter who you get on the team, your question should be answered. And even if it's something that we may not necessarily do, we then try and connect you with other people in our network. And that's the other nice thing, is when we're dealing with higher level people, we're like, hey, you know what? We don't take care of this, but we do know somebody that is expert in this or does do this as a service. We can connect you. Would you be interested in that? And so we have a list of people that we refer for that purpose.
That's really good insight,
cool.
Joshua, because there's a couple things that are packed in there. And the second one I'll start with first is you refer when you can't or don't want to. I say niche out and refer, right? So you don't say, I can't do this. You say, you know what, who can do this better? So-and-so, and you're still providing that service. You're still allowing that person to have brand awareness, and that usually comes back in reciprocity. But the first thing, of course, is a community-based person who also is a marketer. I have to say that I absolutely love that you said you got insight and customers from a WordPress meetup. Now, I am the evil genius who thinks of this, but I've heard so many people say to me, I don't get business from WordCamps. I don't get business from WordPress. And I have two reactions. One, you're full of crap. Two, you're not trying hard enough. Or three, do you even ask? Okay, so like, because I know where all my customers came from, and I don't have a Excel spreadsheet either, but you know where you meet people, right?
Right, exactly.
And so like the cool thing about being in business in the WordPress space is that our customers are our friends because of the WordPress community, which makes the way we do business resonate. And I feel like that goes back to your referring. do you feel like it's easy for you to refer to those people because they share the same values as you do?
It definitely does create some initial buildup as far as having a same bridge to kind of walk across, but we're at a point now where we're starting to get customers. I don't know where they come from because the word of mouth has grown, and that's a really exciting time because it's like, oh, hey, this is awesome. The business is actually building up and working on itself. Uh, but that being said, you lose kind of that touch on, okay, I know everything that you've told me over the years about your business or about your website, and so sometimes we have to kind of we send out little emails like, hey, we've seen that you've had set up, and we will do a check on somebody. If they've had an account for 3 months and they don't have a site up, we go off and reach out to them and like, hey, we notice you don't have a site up. If you need help, here's some tools, here's some assets, or we can connect you with somebody that can design your site for you.
I'm sorry.
Where were you when Bridget started? Where were you?
No, I know, and I did recently leave to my customer Pressable.
Right.
But what's so funny is my prior host sends me emails every week telling me that their site scanner came back clean. And I just like, and they're like big in the WordPress space, but like it's taking everything inside of me to not take a screenshot of that and say, I've been with Pressable since March, and the site is clean because it's not there.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is like, you have the ability as a host to go off and see where your domain's pointed. If they're not doing that, they're missing part of that step.
Right?
But I'm getting the email marketing.
Yep. Oh, they're doing an awesome job.
And if they tell you your site's still up, they're lying to you, because you can't get to the website unless you go to like the whatever the temporary domain name was or host name or whatever.
Oh
my gosh, that's funny
so much, but I like really want to forward it to somebody and say, you guys, that I left you. So.
No, absolutely.
So before you started your own company, Joshua, who were you using? Not who were you using before, but like what were the types of web hosts that you were using, and what were some of the things that you did different now? Like what are those things that you saw and you're like, they use cPanel, they use this, they use that. And I mean, because I used to work for a web host, and I remember it was like Scripalicious, and like there's like all these like goofy little crazy, yeah, whatever the heck it's called, one of those things. But I haven't used those types of web hosts in many years. So yeah, my my stuff's a little old. But the idea, I look at this and I go like, man, I really don't want to have these types of things on a web host that I'm going to be interacting with. What are those things that you looked at that were like, we need to approach this from a different angle? And then how did you, on the marketing side of it, how'd you guys go and like promote that? Because I've been looking through your website today, and I can definitely see how you're touting a bunch of really great things. But what was your approach in that?
So initially, we knew that we wanted to get away from, unlimited. Unlimited is one of those things was a marketing deal way back in the early 2000s, late 90s, and it just kind of stuck.
Yep.
And so what we ended up seeing is you'd like, unlimited everything plan for $6.95, $4.95. So you had these price points, and then on top of it, those price points that were advertised were for long periods of time. So to get that $4.95 price point, you had to pay for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And both those things felt really like I would listen to customers or people say, well, I did this because I wanted the best price, but I'm not happy with what I'm doing.
I mean, 5 years, most marriages don't last that long. Come on.
Yeah. And so you've got these people who are kind of trapped into this hosting plan.
Before you even have a first date, I have to pay for 5 years? It doesn't make any sense.
And then they're like, but you have 30 days to go off and try it out. It is super easy to keep somebody happy for 30 days. It's way harder to keep them happy for 5 years.
Yeah.
And like I said, we have over a 90% retention rate with our clients. And if they last the first year, they're probably going to stick around for a while.
Yeah.
And we do the same price month to month versus so if you pay for a year or month to month, you're still paying the same price overall. It really boils down to what you prefer to do. And we do that just because some people, it's like, we'll earn your business again and again each month. And if we don't, you have the right to go off and take that someplace else. And it gives those people the feeling of, I have a choice. I'm not trapped.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy for them not to be upset.
And some people prefer that accounting method. I mean, I know that I do. That was why I left the other companies, because I wanted to be able to pay $25 a month, actually monthly. Because I want my cost of doing business in a monthly situation instead of having to go back and accrue it.
So it was easy to sell that bit. People are all on board about the month-to-month thing. They weren't so on board with the bandwidth and data restrictions, because they're like, what? But oh my gosh, so and so offers unlimited data and unlimited bandwidth, and it's like, yes, but did you read the asterisks? And that's one of the big things in some of our articles that we've written. Is like, we don't limit you based on CPU. We don't limit you based on IOPS. We don't limit you on things that would be important if you had a big burst of traffic. What we do is, okay, if you hit this point, we're going to notify you at 80%, 90%, and then 95%, saying, hey, you're running out of resources. If you need more, pay for more.
But the site doesn't just go down because all of a sudden you're on BuzzFeed.
Exactly.
And that's an important distinction.
Exactly. I mean, I use Boing Boing, but that's because I'm a super nerd and I've used to go to Boing Boing all the time.
Same here.
I didn't even know it was still up, but
yeah, it's cool. It was originally called the Boing Boing effect, where you'd go off and somebody would get featured on there. And just like Jason, I worked for another hosting company, and I had the experience where a server would just go absolutely ape. It was going beyond crazy. And we'd log in and take a look, and this one user's using 100% of the CPU, and they're on this unlimited plan, and we have to suspend them.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten those angry phone calls. I actually had someone call in and call me a cracker.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
People still use that racist term?
Yeah. I was like, like, just, and I've been threatened with physical violence working at that place.
Wow.
Because people don't understand that aspect of, like, okay, I'm signed up for unlimited, I should get unlimited everything, but then they don't think about it. I'm like, if there was truly unlimited services, Netflix would use that.
Right.
And they'd just be printing money.
Well, right.
You can watch 9 movies at the exact same time, have at it.
I feel like I'm part of the general population when it comes to, I don't understand how much 2 gigabytes is, right? So I get on the airplane, I'm going to Serbia, Swiss Air, great flight, everything's awesome, whatever. And then I'm going to buy the Wi-Fi. And they're giving you like 4 different choices.
Right.
And I'm really glad that they distinguished it by like, oh, this is a little bit of text messages. This might be some social networks.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $35 for whatever amount this is, 60 gigabytes or something.
And that's a ton. That's like movies and stuff.
Yeah, but I felt like I wasn't really sure, like, how much is that? I just want to be able to get some stuff done. I just want to be able to connect with this planet, like even though, and I have unlimited data with Sprint, and I literally have unlimited data. So it makes it really hard because I've never had to make that data decision and say how much. It's like when I call 1-800-GOT-JUNK, I say, get rid of the stuff in the garage. And they'll go, I got $300. They go, we don't price it that way. We price it by a quarter of a truck is $270. Go, fine. Like, here's $300. Take my stuff away. Well, we price it by a quarter of a truck.
Right.
Okay. Take a quarter of a truck for $270. What are you not understanding? Like, they're stuck with I don't know how big a quarter of a truck is.
Yeah.
I got a 10x10 garage. Yeah, take this stuff out of here. Right. And so, because it's their job all the time, they get it. For me, I don't know how much 2 gigs of data is.
Yeah.
I never have known. So it's hard to make that choice. How do you educate your people on that, or how do you help your clients educate their people on how much
The
data?
easiest method we've found is to start them low, because to go up, it's literally a click. So we start out low and say, hey, we start here. If we have enough space to hold all your files, awesome. If not, then we step up to the next step, and then we evaluate, and then we look at bandwidth traffic, and we try to work with the client. If they get a big burst or a spike, we can bill them just for that spike for that time being. Time being, there we go. Or we say, okay, hey, we need to step you up because this is what percentage of resources you need on a regular basis. So it's really hard, because if a client doesn't understand what kind of traffic or need they have, it's going to be hard for them to convey and show that to us. So we usually recommend, hey, start low. We do month to month, and if you need more next month, we can scale you right up. And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
find that you don't need it again, we can scale you right back down the next month.
So you have a lot of flexibility built
Right.
into your. So when I was working for the advertising agency, a lot of times the end user, our client, did not understand the difference between managed, shared, virtual, or what's the difference between a web host and a domain name and the content and who's responsible for what. And of course, because I was in construction, I'd be like, the host is a parcel of land.
Yeah.
Okay. You can build an apartment on it. You can build a duplex. You can build a 10-story building. If it has one hot water heater and you're in shared hosting, you better take your shower first, right?
Right.
But the domain name is like your corporation name, and you pay for that to state of California every year to say, yes, this is my corporation. And everything inside is everything that you do inside. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the content. It's the furniture. It's the people. It could grow and expand. But you're not, your website might have, structure like walls, but you can do a tenant improvement and change things around. Like that's how I would explain it to people, because I understood that physical kind of analysis. But so, like, from a marketing standpoint, let's say you're talking to our audience being mostly freelancers. Hosting is or is not, but probably is mostly part of their website maintenance packages. Please, God, tell me that you guys are using website maintenance packages. That's how you make money. Love, Bridget. Okay, tell our audience, how do they wrap hosting into their marketing of their business plan?
Managed services is really a big piece of it, and you need to work with a hosting that's going to provide the backbone that you need. I mean, we saw a graph just last year where tons of hosting providers were still running old versions of PHP. It's gotten better.
Yeah.
I think they're up to 5.6 now.
Woohoo! Good job, guys.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
5.2
Oh my
was
gosh.
pretty unstable, right?
Well, 5.2 had huge security flaws in it. So, I mean, just inherently in the scripting language itself, you were essentially leaving all your windows and doors unlocked for somebody to just walk right in.
And going on vacation for 6 months to Chile.
Yeah, well, and that was the other piece, and that's where your point to managed services. If you need reoccurring income, that's a great way to go off and do it. We have Installatron that allows people to automatically update their WordPress and their plugins and do backups and all that stuff automatically. But that's not a human touch necessarily, and there
Right.
are people that do that, and I encourage that wholeheartedly, because they're going to be the ones that you reach out to when you have a site design question. If it's a platform question, that's when it should really come to your host. But the other piece of it, especially when we're talking to those freelancers who are providing hosting as an option, one, make sure you are either on a reseller plan or on a plan that allows you to resell. Those straight up shared plans, those $4.95, $6.95, $12.95 plans, those guys, read the terms of service for those, because a lot of them will say, oh, you can't resell. because what they're wanting to do is make as much money on that server. What they're charging on those unlimited plans is based on a one client basis. I've seen some places where one guy's been paying $6.95 for a month and had over 200 clients. And we only found out about it because one of those clients started getting exploited and caused high load on the server. That entire account got suspended.
Bad neighbor.
You mean all of those?
They were the
clients?
All
They were
200 of the developers' clients got
they were their own
suspended.
bad neighbor is pretty much what happened there.
That's exactly what happened. And so doing reseller may cost more expensive or be more expensive to the developer initially, but in a lot of those cases, each one of your clients ends up with their own account. And if one of them ends up having a bad plugin or something that happens, it ends up only affecting that one client versus the other 199 that you might be hosting.
I like that you're talking about pricing. I would like to talk about pricing.
Okay.
So I am gladly paying $25 a month for Pressable, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
And I can have 5 sites, but whatever. For $25, I get Bradley. And I'm pretty
Right.
happy with it. He merged my site or migrated or whatever. It works. I needed him like 4 times, and I'm fine. BridgetWiller.com's up and running. I don't have to look at cPanel. If anything's wrong, I email Bradley. I use Bradley as the support department, but that's who worked with me. It was a person, a real person that worked with my account. And every time I had a problem, it was Bradley. So it was like, I don't know what they do over there exactly, but I felt like they were managing their help scout really well, whatever version of that, right? Because it was the same person. And one of the things I really liked is that I didn't have to re-explain all over again. Bradley knew my account, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that aside, because that's a support style issue, which is a totally different show. So I like tequila. This is not a new fact. It's new-ish, but I will pay $12 for a shot of tequila because I'm either drinking good tequila or I'm drinking Diet Coke. I don't want anything in between. I'll take a medium high grade. So I'll have like a couple, 3 shots of Casadores Silver, neat, no salt, no lime, and I'll spend $36 like crazy person, which is probably why I do my bios. But here's the thing. $25 a month doesn't seem that expensive to me, but I know that you guys have also very fair pricing. What is wrong with the WordPress system? Not just hosting, but let's talk about this for a minute. What is wrong with the WordPress ecosystem as a business when $25 a month is a problem as an operating cost that should be passed on to your customer, by the way?
I agree. Where we run into the issue is ultimately the end customer because we've gotten used to such inexpensive hosting providers in the past, and that's where it's a difference with like Pressable, with a lot of your white service companies where it's like we want to take care of our client. They've heard all that rhetoric a lot of times before from previous hosts, and they're expecting to be catered and coddled that first 30 days or first 60 days. And then they're just kind of out there in the wind because that's what their past experience is. And so the only thing that we can do is show them that that's not how things are. When you pay for a service, you should get quality service in return.
Right.
And
doesn't it in the end save you time as a developer to have a support?
The developer and the client at the end, because if you're preventing an issue, like we introduce PHP 7, 7.1, 7.2, and we're sending out notices to our clients saying, hey, you've got 6 months before 5.6 becomes end of life. Like we're giving them notices and things like that, so they're aware of things that they're aware of in the back of their mind, but they may not think of, and like, oh shoot, I've got 6 months to go off and test all my plugins or all my sites to get them up to PHP 7.
Yeah. So on the question or the point that Jason brought up about being a bad neighbor, do you collectively aggregate your stats to market, like saying we have X amount of customers and their performance speed is this because we're running on blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Like, is there any kind of thing like that? I mean, obviously you can't give away who they are, but
Right.
is there any kind of aggregated data that you use to market the performance of your service?
We respect our clients in the sense that we don't tie into a lot of that stuff. We do monitor for performance issues, but we don't necessarily use that for marketing because that feels a little kind of like we're getting too in deep with their necessary information. But we can go off and say, on average, our clients' websites, when they're hosted with us, see a 40 to 70% performance increase based on different options. We only use Lightspeed on our hosted packages, and that alone provides about 40%. So if you're running PHP 5.6 and then you're running on a Lightspeed enabled server, the optimization that goes involved with that, we typically see about a 40% speed improvement. You add in the caching and you step up to PHP 7, and that's where you get the remaining 30% of performance gain typically. I mean, PHP 7 alone, even if you're using Apache or Nginx, is well worth its weight in spending the time to get up to that. But then you add in something like it, or even Nginx Plus, which again is another premium service. And that's, as a host, you have to go off and say, am I willing to go off and spend for that premium to give that
Right.
premium experience to that customer? And it does get passed on to the customer. I mean, we don't have outrageous prices, but we're definitely not your bargain budget host either. But that being said, we include a lot of stuff.
I kind of thought about what you were saying earlier about your pricing and how they were like, that doesn't make sense. Going back when I was doing music, if you had a concert and it was free, people didn't value it, so they wouldn't go. Charge $10 or $15, and all of a sudden they have a commitment, which is one of the main reasons, by the way, that WordCamps charge $40. That they came up with that price as okay. I'm not going to just waste people's resources. I am going to show up.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like when you're talking about performance, you're talking about speed. How do you make that tangible to people? I mean, do you recommend services like Pingdom tools?
I typically use Pingdom, or there's another one that's escaping me right now, but Pingdom's a big one that I use. And it's like, here's where your issues are. Like if I'm talking to a customer and they're willing to share their initial site, I can go off and run a Pingdom report and show them the biggest problem with older versions of Apache and older versions of Linux in general is that time to first byte is usually just killing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you're talking 300 milliseconds, 400 milliseconds. Sometime I've seen it over a second before the site even gets there. So the DNS is finished, it's done its job, and now we're just sitting there waiting for that web server to go off and say, oh, here's the first bit of data. And so you're waiting before even any data gets sent to that browser. And that could be a number of things. That could be an overloaded server, could be an old version of Apache, could be the PHP scripts taking too long to run the backend. There's a number of things. But a lot of we'll go with the bargain budget hosting again. Well, those guys are using old versions of Apache and old OS versions, and they're not built for high speed traffic.
Yeah. Yep, I've seen plenty of that, and you've gone to the meetups. You've gone to the meetups. All three of us go to the meetups, and you always hear the person come in. They're like, I go to my website, and it just sits there, and it waits, and it waits, and then it finally shows up. And then you look, and you're like, oh, well, you're doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. What about when it comes to like CDNs? You got to have those types of folks using. You got to get that type of stuff involved as well, right?
So that's the funny thing is We're partnered with Cloudflare. I mean, it's real easy as a host to get partnered with Cloudflare.
It's all good. Keep going.
No worries. But what we found is our Lightspeed server was actually serving content faster than the CDN.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So I talk quite a bit about Lightspeed, but I am a firm believer in the service that it provides.
Yeah.
When we're outperforming locally, and that's another key thing, is knowing about where your clients' core business is at. If their core business is Southern California and our services are located in Southern California, it's going to outperform. But if their primary service is in Europe or Asia or something like that, then yeah, we usually say, hey, tie into Cloudflare. And that's actually another thing that we recommend to them. If they're having bandwidth issues, but they don't want to necessarily step up to the next level, Cloudflare will catch some of that too.
Yeah.
So it's a
totally
really situational thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing marketing wise to kind of promote your product and what you're doing with it? Are you doing newsletters? I saw you guys doing blog posts. What are those types of things that you're using to kind of get the word out about your
word
product?
of mouth has been honestly our best, because we've done marketing with various groups. Right now we're actually using Wonkasoft to handle our marketing, because again, that's not our core business. We want to focus on making sure that our customers have good quality servers.
Right.
Yeah.
So we enlisted Wonkasoft to help us with that, and so we are working on doing blog posts and getting content out, social media. We've got some flyers, we've got some stickers, and it's really getting the word of mouth out there, and it's actually working quite well, where you build up those few people around you that have all the connections, and then all of a sudden they're telling other people, they're telling their friends.
Right.
And that's, especially if you want a better tier of client. I talk about bargain budget hosters. You also get bargain budget clients. And I really enjoy saying that I have a 90+% retention rate. If I were going after all the bargain budget clients, I wouldn't have that, because one, they think that's outrageous that they're paying even $12.95. And we've had a couple of those. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And it's like, well, you're not taking advantage necessarily of all the features that we have. Like, here's some of the things that we can do for you. And like, oh, I don't need that. I just need my site up. And it's like, well, what brought you to us in the first place? Well, my site was down at XYZ host. Has your site been down with us? Well, no, but I don't like having to pay this much. And so we kind of get into the circular logic of, I want to pay XYZ host prices, but I don't want to have any downtime.
No, those are the 3-star yuppers. They're never happy with anything. Before we get to our other segment, I mean, we have not talked about SSL.
Oh yeah, that's a big
that's
one.
like a big deal. And with the Google and the Chrome, seriously, I was on kind of a big deal site, and it wouldn't let me go to it. Not even with the advanced settings. It was like an airline or a travel agent website or something like that. And I was like, what the heck? You know, like, could you tell us a little bit about like how to market SSL beyond? I mean, we know it's prophylactic in nature, and people hate that I use that term, but when we're talking about security, prevention is the best thing, right?
Right.
Well, how do we market that to the general public? We understand why it's important. How do we talk to people about it?
Well, and I've actually been surprised that there's actually a lot of people, even in our tech community, that don't necessarily understand how SSL work. Because they're like, oh, it's like antivirus for your website. And it's like, no, not really.
That's not it at all.
Yeah, it's like, what SSLs provide is a secure tunnel between the client visiting your site and the web server. So that if somebody is sitting, say, like they're at a coffee shop, this is my usual example. You're sitting at a coffee shop and little hacker over in the corner is sitting sniffing all the traffic that's going across the Wi-Fi, because there's programs that do that. If you're not using an SSL, your password, your username, all that content is out there for anybody to just pluck out of the air. With an SSL, there's a security tunnel, so all they're going to see is encrypted gobbledygook. And the more level of encryption, so 1024, 2048, 4096, the higher that level of security, the more encrypted that data is. And as far as marketing that, we use Let's Encrypt. It's actually a plugin that we tie right into our control panel. And it's like, okay, you get a free SSL. We want you to be secure off the bat. And for 90 some odd % of our clients, that is exactly what they need. That's all they need. Because they're not storing any security information like credit card information locally. I wouldn't even recommend that, even if you paid for an SSL.
No, defer to the payment processor and the payment gateway and their
Let
PCI
them worry about that PCI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a headache. Let
it
Stripe
is.
deal with it.
It is. But you explaining that to people and getting them to understand, and I don't understand why more hosts, because there are still quite a few, some quite big, that still don't offer free SSLs. And come a few weeks, Google's going to be lighting all these guys up with red marks saying the site isn't secure.
Yep.
And for your end user who doesn't know technology, when they see a red bar, they're going to think something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, it doesn't SSL also help with well, I know it helps with rankings. Does it help with performance at all? Or is it not a factor when HTTP2 comes out?
HTTP2 only will run over SSL.
Okay, so this is the bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the Roman road of HTTP2.
Correct.
Okay.
So HTTP2, they have a option that you can turn it off, but most browsers won't respect that option unless it's HTTPS. And then on top of that, if you're on Lightspeed or Nginx and you have the modules enabled and you're using Chrome, so there's a few options, there are a few things that are required. But that being said, you can actually take advantage of Quick, which I'm going to talk nerdy here for you, is the Google platform and how they load their stuff so quickly. They're sending it over UDP versus TCP. And if I had somebody here, I would do the card trick explaining it. But essentially, TCP for layman's is I give you a piece of data. I confirm that you got that piece of data.
UDP don't care.
Yeah, UDP, I'm going to throw it all at you, and then you can tell me if you need me to resend something.
Yeah.
And so
the handshaking, what they call it, handshaking.
Yep.
Right?
So you have an initial handshake, and then you have a I sent you this data. You acknowledge it back. That's TCP.
That's
UDP,
why it's slow.
Yeah. UDP is much more like, oh, you're on the other end. Here you go. Here's all your information. I hope somebody got that. But those are some of the advantages to using SSL, because those speed enhancements aren't available to you unless you're using SSL.
Yep. It used to be back in the day, you would say, if you're collecting any kind of data whatsoever, you should probably use SSL. Now it's like, you should just use SSL. Like, you're going to be collecting data. You're always going to be collecting data. If you're going to be putting somebody's email address into a box, you're going to be putting a comment into a thing. If you're going to leave comments on the website, or you just want to be a good person and actually use SSL to protect the person and the connection between your computer and their server, you should do this. So use SSL.
In like 2 years, we're going to be talking about GDPR like this.
Right.
Yeah. It's so funny because I saw this little video about the Netherlands and how it's not Holland. There's a North and South Holland. There's really 12 provinces that make up the Netherlands, but the Kingdom of the Netherlands has 3 cities in the Caribbean. So that are part of the Netherlands and therefore part of the European Union and therefore European Union residents. So I saw that video and I went, oh, there are 3 cities in this hemisphere that have European residents. And I had a dream that I stood up in front of a meetup and told them all that. It was so funny. But like you get all this stuff in your head and like before it was like GDPR, the world's come to an end or with this giant fine. And then we're like, oh, we don't care. We'll just block out IP addresses. But then like the LA Times did. But then you don't know, like people could be visiting. If they are residents of the European Union, they have a right to have their data collected. And furthermore, since I'm on this rant, somebody asked me how to delete their profile from WordPress.org. Guess what?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because I gave them the marketing badge to the wrong profile. They go, oh, that's my other profile. I can't figure out how to delete it. Yeah. So we need to clean up our own house, WordPress. That's just a little like thing before we go into our tool or tip of the week, Jason. Mine is so simple. I have a simple one. So
go for it.
With I was with a client using Constant Contact, and we had an agreement, a disagreement about what would be the best subject line. So she gave me hers, I gave me mine. And we said, let's let Constant Contact A/B test this. So what Constant Contact will do is they'll send out 20% to the one headline, 20% to the other headline. And after X amount of hours that you specify, I did 6, it will send the rest of the emails out to the winner. So of course, my headline was the one that won. But the client saw it. It's not just my opinion. It backs up me as a marketer. And then, she could have been right? So, and maybe if you have a couple of, you just want to test it out and see how it works, go ahead and try that. And I thought that was a really simple thing. Usually I pretty much hate Constant Contact. I prefer MailChimp. But that was part of her plan. It was just an option right there. I'm not the MailChimp expert, Amy Hall is, but I didn't see the A/B testing that obvious in MailChimp. So I'm sure they have it, but maybe for
definitely there.
Accounts. Yeah.
I've definitely used it.
But like just, it doesn't have to be super complicated, but like every once in a while, if you have a debate or even internally, and don't forget to use the schedule headline analyzer too. That's also a good tip for your email subject lines. And then think about this. What do you open? So my favorite email marketing right now is from Glossier. They are a cosmetics company. They will have something really, really simple. And then they'll have one line and a picture and be like, how do I fit this in? They say, it's like, a mask. Do you have extra 20 minutes? And you go, yeah, I do. Open up. That's how you do your mask. At 20 minutes while you're doing something else or whatever. And then one link to go to their store. And that's it. It wasn't all the content you had for the last 6 months, and then you got Old Navy, who I used to love, that sends me 3 emails a day. Like, there's got to be some mix. Or like nonprofits that I have that I'm part of that treat me as a recurring donor as a new person every single time. Like this bracelet's now available. Yes, I know that because I have the bracelet pack because I'm a recurring donor. I love you for Ocean, but seriously, like I told them, I actually wrote them. I said, get me off that list, segment your list. We needed to send them the Christy Chirinos one. But like sometimes if you're email marketing, like just, you can get in a rut if you don't think out of the box.
Totally.
That's my tip.
Gosh.
A/B test.
Awesome. I'll do mine. How about that?
That works.
We'll give Joshua a couple minutes to do some Googling real quick to find one.
I've got one. I just was taking notes.
Nice. All right. So my tool is I love these little applications, these little things that just work. They just work really well. It's almost like how apps on your phone. Your apps on your phone do one thing. You have a flashlight app, not anymore, but you had a flashlight app.
I have a flashlight app.
Yeah, but now you can just like swipe and then hit the flashlight and it just does it. But you have those types of things, right? So this one's dead simple, but it makes your photos look awesome. So I use this app called Photo Lemur.
Okay.
And like
Lemur, as in the animal?
As in the animal. And so Photo Lemur, you can go over to photolemur.com and buy this app. It's $34.99. But wait, there's more. So I'm a subscriber, just like I've talked about in the past, of that application called SetApp. And SetApp is awesome. I've always talked about this. It's $9 a month. You can get it for $8.99 if you pay yearly. But what I love about this thing is that you can take a photo, just take a whole bunch of photos, drag it into the window, and then what it does is it scans the photos, and it probably uses something called machine learning. It says it uses artificial intelligence to figure it out. But what it does is it scans the whole area of the photo to figure out, are there people? Is it a landscape? Is it a portrait of something? Is there something specific that's in the middle of the photo that I should be looking at? Is the color balance wrong? Is this and that wrong? Is it whatever wrong? So if you go to their website and just look at the stuff, you can do this little slide before and after type things, and it'll show you.
That's really cool.
It is the coolest freaking thing ever. So if you have horrible looking photos, but you did a really great job of like putting it together, but it just doesn't look right, run it through this guy.
Is this for your phone or is this a program?
It's for your computer. It's for your computer. So what you do is just, if you're on your computer, so you have your Mac, and you just took a whole bunch of photos, you can go into iPhoto on your computer, find the photos. This is Mac. Windows people, I'm sorry. You have to figure out how to do Microsoft Paint to do this or something. I don't know. But you take this thing and you just drag those photos into it. You can airdrop the photos to your computer, whatever. Just get them onto your computer and then start playing around with those photos. So I took a whole bunch of photos that I had, probably about 50 of them, dragged them into this thing and hit go. And it just spits out a whole bunch of really great looking photos. And it's cool because it kind of shows you. It scans a photo, it figures out where the faces are, where the eyes are, where all those things are, and it kind of really just figures out what it's supposed to look like. And it takes the sky and makes the sky look awesome. So if you take a really great photo,
like actually the sky.
It's the sky. Yeah. It's blue.
It's such a dramatic difference.
And they don't make them look like they're HDR. I don't know if you've ever seen what an HDR photo looks like, but it looks like everything's just way too this and way too that. Like it just looks like it's hyper real. This doesn't make it look like it's hyper real. It makes it look like whatever you saw in your eyes, it looked like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's my tip trick. Go check that out.
That's pretty cool. Well, mine is kind of a cop-out because it was from the WordCamp Orange County Plugin Palooza, but it's actually saved my butt a couple times now.
That's not a cop-out.
Okay.
Not everybody here went to our camp.
This is true. So to some really awesome people, Natalie and Nathan. I don't know their last names, but
Natalie McLeese and Nathan Tyler.
There we go. Thank you. They made this plugin for Plugin Palooza at Orange County WordCamp, and it is called Plugin Detective. And if you've ever come across a site where after an update, it doesn't look quite right, like something's changed and your theme is off or something along those lines, the plugin's been updated or a bunch of plugins have updated, and you're like, I don't know what happened here, but it doesn't look right. This plugin will actually help you track down your problematic plugin with a few clicks. So you don't actually have to go through the whole process of, okay, move all the plugins out of the plugin folder and then slowly, one by one, move them back in to see which one works. Because that does actually take a lot of time. And I have clients that have over 30 plus plugins, which makes me cringe, but that happens. So we use Plugin Detective now instead of doing that, and it's successfully gotten over 80% of the time, I think, with the ones that we've tested, where a lot of times if it doesn't pick it up, it's because it's either a required plugin, because you can actually mark the plugins as like, this needs to stay active because...
Oh, okay.
So that's another cool thing, is it's not like, oh, it disables all your plugins and then you've got short codes listed all over your site. And Rudy mentioned the white screen. So if you have this plugin installed before you have problems, the cool thing is you can then navigate directly to the plugin and log in, and it'll run plugin detective, so it'll even fix a white screen.
Wow.
So if your site's completely offline because of a white screen error, this will actually go off and help you fix that as well.
Dude, I love it. I
Yeah.
love everything Natalie and Tyler do. And I like how they're using Otto from Nathan Tyler's staging pilot as detective. It's really good
cute.
branding. They're a good team for sure. That's a good
definitely.
tip. I probably need that.
I've been
on my
recommending
own
it to
site.
people to install it ahead of time before there's problems, just so then if there is, it's not like, oh great, now I gotta go off and hindsight 2020, have a little hindsight beforehand and save yourself the trouble later.
And it's free with the low price guarantee. So WordPress.org/plugin- whatever. I just tweeted it out. It's WPblab.
Yeah.
Along with the other tools mentioned, except for A/B testing. That's not a link. Just it has to come from your head, people.
Yeah, and one thing I would say about this, just like I say about with backing up, is make sure you know how to use this thing. Like you can install it and be like, oh yeah, it just works. Like run it right now, install it and run it right now. Why? Just to see how it works. Because the worst thing is to run something and trying to figure out like, where do I put my backups? How do I restore from backup? What do I do with it? Run the thing once, just look at it and go, oh, okay, things are working. Maybe something isn't working right. And maybe plugin detective will detect it and go, oh, well, actually this isn't that. Whoever wrote this plugin didn't know what they were doing and they totally jacked up this whole thing. And, run it, test it out, see how it works, and then play around with it a little bit.
Speaking of backups, as a host, I will say this to every single client. While we maintain backups, you should maintain backups as well. Because in the event that, something happens and our entire business just falls off because of an earthquake, and you want to get your business back up, the fastest way would be to take your own backups and restore from that. Or even if you want to go someplace else, like somebody wants to move, I don't want to have
the 10% that you don't keep.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like having ownership of your data is so important. And test your backups. Definitely test your backups, because again, just like you said, you don't want to be in a situation where like, oh shoot, I have to restore. How do I restore? And especially if it's your main source of income, that can get really hectic really fast.
You really don't want to have that conversation with somebody. Like you don't want to go and say like, I didn't do anything. I didn't buy insurance. I didn't do any of this stuff. I don't know anything. And then you're just crying to your web host who goes like, we just host your website. We backed your stuff up, but I don't know what you did wrong, but something got messed up here.
Well, and most of the time they've only got a few days, because they're talking terabytes upon terabytes of backups. So they'll only have a few days unless you're paying for a higher backup to your service.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like they don't have to guarantee
I'm a horrible person who has nothing. I have Updraft. It goes to Dropbox. I have no idea how to use it. One day I'll figure this out.
Yep.
I also don't have extra water for earthquakes, so it just goes along with my brand.
Well, that's about it. I want to say thank you very much, Joshua, for hanging out with us and talking about hosting and marketing with hosting, and just how people should be, approaching any of these types of businesses when it comes to web hosting, and really looking for the things that are available to them and actually use the stuff that you're paying for. Because like Joshua was saying earlier, so there's people that are not using everything that their web host does, and they spend a lot of time and energy tinkering and messing around with the things that are available to them, so they can make them available to you and make them nicely packaged and easy to go and check out. So definitely go do that. I want to say thank you very much for all of you for watching this particular episode. I really appreciate it. You can go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com, where you can find show notes. You can find where you can subscribe, and you can find out all the fun things that we're doing over there by subscribing to the other shows. And one other thing, just want to let you know this. So we moved our podcasting hosting to a totally different company. And we moved all this stuff over. Well, while I was doing that, I thought, Bridget has these other things going on our network as well. We should probably turn this into a podcast as well. So Community Connections is now a podcast. You can go subscribe to it. We're listed on all of the different directories that are out there for podcasting. So if you're looking for WPwatercooler, you don't want to look at our face, we just will listen to our voices, we can definitely do that for you. And you can go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. And that's where you can find where you can do subscriptions for all of our shows here. One last thing. We're looking for sponsors. If you want to sponsor this particular show or any of the shows on the network, you can go to WPwatercooler.com/sponsor, where you can learn how to sponsor this show and the other shows on the network. I want to say thank you very much. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.